The Indian Miss World, and the Rage of Muslims of the World. This book continues the story of the Arab sugar daddy and the beautiful Indian girl, and also the story of the Indian child bride and the old Arab husband. They have been written in English and translated into Arabic by the author Dr. Ahmed. This story resonates with genuine love, strong resilience, and steadfast courage. I invite you to accompany me as I continue narrating the story of the rare, fabulous beauty of the Indian girl, Ifat Khan, and her extremely beautiful mother, Rehana Khan. Before we dive in the tapestry of the story, I would like to remind the reader this novel is narrated in 6 books. 1. The Arab Sugar Daddy and the Beautiful Indian Girl. 2. The Indian Child Bride and the Old Arab Husband. 3. The Indian Miss World and the Rage of Muslims of the World. 4. Christina and the Complete Jew. 5. The Tears of God, Jews, Blacks, and Muslim Women. And 6. The Hidden Life of the Prophet Muhammad. This is an intriguing epic story which exhibits resilience, love, and sacrifice. Book 3. From a Slum Girl to the Queen of the World Beauty. Copyright. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author except by a reviewer, who may quote brief passages from a review for printing in a public newspaper, general magazine, school journal, or university article. All characters in this novel are fictional and any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is merely coincidental. Chapter 20. She believes the devil is a man. The first news Aphrodite Khan heard after her release from prison is that her second evil captor, rapist, and abuser Mahmud Khan has taken his own life after his very scandalous public exposure. Her 11 months behind bars did nothing to improve her impression of men and sex. Once again, she is homeless and penniless, with a stint in prison to boot. She does not know what is going to happen next in her miserable life. Her tragic life is always clouded with abuse and agony. Wherever destiny led her, she would fall into the hands of evil men who used her and abused her. For 10 years, her Saudi husband tortured and raped her. When she was freed from his claws, she fell into the hands of another evil Muslim husband who was crueler than her late Saudi husband. Then she landed into the filthiest defilement a woman could ever endure among public servants of the worst kind, set free only at night to service her rapists. She thought that prison would be her last stop in life. Being sexually abused by her sexual predators was for her lesser evil than what she had already endured for 11 years under the hands of her previous 2 captors and abusers. After she lost her loving mother, Rehana Khan, Ifat Khan did not find anyone to love her or take care of her except her late lover Samir, and his kind mother Rani. For the first time in her life, she experienced true love, an altruistic love unmotivated by selfish gain or for profit. It was an entirely new concept to her. It resonated in her heart and gave her resilience and hope in life. For 6 months, the handsome hero Samir Krishna Khan had given her the love she had been missing all her young life. Whenever he sat near her, she felt great happiness, and whenever he talked to her, his voice filled a void in her heart. When he smiled, she became happy, and when he became sad, her heart lost its joy. At that time, all she wanted was just to see his handsome face and feel his presence beside her. It was he who changed her attitude towards life. Alas, that beautiful love and wonderful joyfulness did not last for more than 6 months. The Bollywood greatest tyrant Javed Khan killed her handsome lover in front of her eyes. Once again, her attitude towards men changed, this time for the worse. As far as Aphrodite Khan could fathom, evil manifested itself in its fullest and darkest form whenever it assumed the shape of a man. She believes that if the devil is a human being, then surely Satan is a human male. Wherever she went, it was a man who kidnapped, imprisoned, tortured, and abused her. It was the men who raped her when she was a child of 7 years old. It was the men who imprisoned her for 10 years. It was the men who whipped her delicate body and raped her for months on end. It was the men who killed her lover in front of her eyes. They were men who raped her when she was in jail. Aphrodite expected that sooner or later another man would come into her life and resume an abusive role. She hates men with a passion. Her good Samaritan, Rani Krishna, tries to comfort her and assure her that not every man is evil, but Aphrodite is not convinced. Despite what the rest of the world thought of her, Rani invited Aphrodite to stay in her house as long as she wanted. She promised to treat her as her daughter. Moreover, she wanted to reintroduce her to Bollywood and give her a role in her movie. When Rani heard Aphrodite's story of how she was raped and beaten when she was unjustly incarcerated, she is inclined to complain about each and every one responsible at the prison. She wanted to expose the female guards who turned Aphrodite Khan into an unpaid prostitute and made money out of selling her body to their partners in crime. Once bitten, twice shy, Rani has a feeling that the complaint might be used against Aphrodite again. Doubtless, these are men used to manipulating the law. They would deny all charges and countersue her for character defamation. Rani is not keen on seeing a corrupt judicial system send an innocent victim to prison and leave the criminals free yet again. Accordingly, the wise Hindu director has dismissed the idea of bringing to justice those evil Indians who raped the Iranian heroine when she was behind bars. She believed the just God would sooner or later punish all of them as he did to the former two wicked kidnappers and rapists of Aphrodite Khan, the aged Saudi business tycoon Sheikh Ahmed, and the greatest Bollywood director Mahmood Khan. Shortly after the release of the Iranian heroine, and moved back to her residence, the Hindu woman Rani has recollected the events surrounding the evil Muslim who took his own life because he could not face the public scrutiny of his crimes. An idea crept into her mind, and she shared it with Aphrodite one day. "Why don't you go to the Abu Dhabi International Bank and find out whether that coward of a man paid the ransom that the blackmailer had asked him for? It is 10 crores, isn't it?" Rani Krishna understood that 10 million rupees is a lot of money for a penniless and homeless girl like Aphrodite Khan who has no family or relatives either in her motherland India or the land of unlawful detention, rape, and abuses in Iran, or anywhere else in the whole world. Rani wants to use some of the money to finance Aphrodite's homecoming to the film industry. She may have been a film director, but she does not have the kind of money needed to make a large-budget film. Bollywood directors would invite financiers to underwrite the cost of the film, but no financier would offer 5 crores of rupees on a movie directed by a small-time female director like Rani Krishna. Explaining the situation she is in, Rani told Aphrodite that if Mahmood Khan had truly deposited the 10 crores of rupees in her account, then she would retell its tragic life story and let her play herself in her movie. At first, Aphrodite is hesitant to go to the foreign bank. The name of the Abu Dhabi International Bank brought back stark reminders of her evil Saudi husband. She thought that the bank might accuse her of arranging the murder of her Arab husband in jail and her kidnapping to come back later and steal all his money. Also, it makes her hesitate to see the cruel murder of her lover in front of her eyes while they are acting in the last scene of the movie. It made her hate Bollywood and everything to do with it. It was Rani who kept on assuring her that nothing would happen to her and that it was worthwhile checking it out. She said to her, the bank manager would say to her either her account was closed by her Saudi husband before his murder or Mahmood Khan had deposited nothing in her account. In either case, she has nothing to lose and nothing to be afraid of. Aphrodite is reluctant but gives in to Rani's suggestion and off they go. Aphrodite is too afraid to venture out alone, hence, she asks Rani to accompany her. She told Rani about the second separate account that her Saudi husband created for her when he wanted her to travel to Switzerland with his first lawyer, Sheikh Al-Din Barkatullah Habib Allah. The account number that Aphrodite gave to her Hindi and English teacher is the second account. She could not give the number of the joint account because it contained many complicated numbers, letters, and signs. In contrast, she remembered her separate account number because it is simple and contained only numbers. The late old Saudi man had deposited in that account 14 crores rupees, 140 million Indian rupees. He wanted to purchase his freedom by bribing the judge of the High Court, his Muslim lawyer, and the 2 police commissioners of Mumbai and Hyderabad. Notwithstanding, the kidnap of Ifat by the men of Mahmood Khan had frustrated that secret deal. Rani Krishna used her car to travel with Aphrodite Khan from her residence in Bandra to Churchgate. She has a male chauffeur. So, she sat in the back seat with Aphrodite and began to chat with her while the car ate up the distance to the bank. The journey is expected to take about an hour and 40 minutes, but Mumbai traffic is unpredictable, sometimes stretching an hour's drive into 2 hours. Everything depended on the traffic conditions and the time of day. As the private car droned on, Aphrodite dozed off in the first half hour, after a futile fight to stay awake. When in jail, a peaceful night's sleep was out of the question. Every night, she was used for someone's entertainment and sexual pleasure. She would be brought back in the early morning and only allowed to sleep for a couple of hours before waking up call. Once the wake-up call was taken, the opportunities for rest were few and far in between. For Aphrodite, her days in a rotten Indian jail were added to the torture she had come to know all her life. Besides starving, she was bullied by the female guards and inmates, probably out of envy or jealousy. Each suspect or convict was entitled to a single meal a day. She could expect to be given a plate of lentils and rice, with an egg for protein. That was it. You could eat it all up at one time or save a portion for later, that was your choice. Chicken, beef, fish, and other edible meat were rarely served. Very often female gandas would rob the food of the less aggressive female inmates and let them starve to death inside the jails. Fortunately, the Iranian heroine was kept in solitary confinement most of the time, and that saved her from the full brunt of bullying by female thugs. Aphrodite fell asleep on Rani's lap and decided to let her be. From their first meeting, Rani understood her childish nature and her inability to take care of herself. As a mother who had nurtured her child well, she now extended this hospitality to Aphrodite. She decided to house her and care for her as long as she could. She expected that one day Aphrodite would find a good man who would love her and take care of her. In the meantime, with her skills and know-how, she is going to leverage her outstanding beauty and create Aphrodite's career and fortune. When the car reached the Abu Dhabi International Bank, in the Nariman Point area, Rani roused Aphrodite from her nap and told her to go in and talk to the bank manager. Aphrodite refused to go in alone and begged Rani to come in with her. At first, Rani is not willing to accompany her inside the bank. She is worried that the bank management might ask her to reveal the nature of her relationship with Aphrodite or accuse her of trying to use her money for some selfish gain. Aphrodite does not care about that and insists that Rani come in with her. She told her that she needed her to help her in case the bank manager called the police and asked them to arrest her for murdering her Saudi husband inside the jail. Reluctantly, for better or worse, Rani assumed the role of a guardian angel and agreed to go in with her terrifying charge. It was Rani who talked to one employee inside the bank in Hindi and told her the purpose of their visit. When the employee demanded to know the relationship between the two women, Rani said to her that Aphrodite was staying with her in her house, and she was like her daughter. Rani Krishna knows that saying Aphrodite is her relative would be shooting herself in the foot. No one in India is going to believe that a Krishna can be related to a Khan. It is just like saying God and Satan are close relatives. Politely, the Indian girl asked Rani and Aphrodite to sit in the waiting room until the manager of the bank could call on them. They waited for ages in silence. Both of them are tense and worried. The icy cold room added to the feeling that they had come to steal something. Rani is more worried and scared than Aphrodite because she knows that the money they came to inquire about is deposited by blackmail. The money, if it is there, had been extracted from someone through blackmail, and that is against the law no matter what motive was behind it. Chapter 21. Tears of Joy for Two Hearts. After 1 hour of tense waiting, someone came and requested the two Indian ladies to come to follow him because the manager was now free to talk to them. The two girlfriends Rani and Aphrodite strolled with their hearts beating louder and louder. When they enter the manager's large, beautiful office, they are asked to be seated. It is the same person who escorted them in and requested them to sit down. The manager is an Arab and is speaking in Arabic, still engrossed in a conversation on the phone when they sat in their seats. He concluded his conversation in 5 minutes, turned to face the two Indian women, and said in English, "What can I do for you, nice ladies?" Rani had already told Aphrodite that when they reached the bank, she should speak for herself, and she taught her what to say and how to say it. Despite that, the frightened girl remained silent, and that irritated Ronnie. "Well, is there any problem?" Manager when he realized that the two Indian women were worried and neither of them is willing to speak. The manager's question forced Ronnie to open up her mouth and speak on behalf of Aphrodite. "There is no problem, sir. This is my girlfriend, Ifat Khan. She lives with me in my house. Ifat wants to inquire about her account in your bank." "What is her account number?" "She lost her bank book, and she doesn't remember exactly what her account number is." "Well, I don't like to be rude or mean in any way, but according to our bank policy and for privacy purposes, I would like Ifat Khan to talk to me herself concerning her account with us. Since you said you are her girlfriend and she trusts you, I do not mind having you here with us, but she must speak to me. I cannot talk to you about her bank account even of her being present with us." "I am so sorry, sir." Ifat is a bit shy, but after hearing from you, she can speak for herself now. "It is okay. Now tell me, Ifat, when did you open an account with us and what kind of account are you holding?" "It is my husband's account." "Well, in that case, I am sorry. I can't talk to you about your husband's account with us unless he comes with you and permits us to discuss his account with you." "No, sir." My friend Ifat did not understand your question. Her English is not that good. It is her account. If she has a problem with English, I can call my Hindi interpreter and talk to her through him. I came here last year many times, and I talked to you in Hindi. You had someone who was telling you what I was saying in Hindi. At that time, my Saudi husband was alive and was in the Mumbai Arthur Road jail. Ronnie felt a bit relieved when Ifat finally began to speak for herself and make intelligible sentences. The bank manager did not recognize Ifat Khan because when she came to him in the past, she was covered from head to toe in a black burqa. However, this day, she is dressed up in tight jeans and a sleeveless top that exposes half of her sexy breasts and large backside. Her marvelous beauty and sexy body captivated his heart, and she made a permanent lingering impression on him. She appeared to him as a black ghost of darkness that had been miraculously transformed into an angel of light. The moment she said to him, "At that time my Saudi husband was alive and was in jail," the manager began to connect the dots. "What is the name of your Saudi husband?" "Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed." Ifat Khan could forget anything in her life except the name of the evil old man who had kept her under his domination and captivity for over 10 years. She can forget her name, but she can never forget the name of that old serpent that took the shape of an old man, or maybe the devil himself was incarnated as an old Arab man. When the lovely Indian girl speaks the full name of her Saudi husband, the bank manager's pupils dilate to double the normal size, and his mouth is fully opened in astonishment. Then he looked at Ifat for a while, composed himself, and replied, "My goodness, we did everything we could to locate you." The two Indian ladies Ronnie and Aphrodite began to shake and sweat terribly when they heard his response. Both have concluded that the bank is trying to locate Ifat Khan because of the deposit of illegal monies related to the blackmail of an Indian citizen. The rich Indian woman Rani Krishna knows no one can ever believe that a 19-year-old Indian girl could earn 100 million Indian rupees overnight. "Why are you looking for her? Is there any problem, sir?" "It isn't only a problem. It is a huge legal dispute." Ronnie tried to speak further, but her throat dried up and her tongue was paralyzed with fear. Aphrodite felt like standing up and running for her life, but her feet have been rooted in the carpet under her chair while her heart is beating in terror. She hung on to Ronnie's arm. The bank manager read the thoughts of the two Indian women and realized that there was great dread mirrored in their faces. "I am sorry. I did not mean to scare you, ladies. There is nothing wrong or unlawful that the girl Ifat Khan has done to be afraid of. Please both of you relax and listen carefully to what I am going to say." Although Aphrodite and Ronnie have been reassured by the manager, a lingering dread follows in the shadows of their minds. After the murder of Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed inside the Mumbai jail by one of his Indian inmates, his Saudi wives, sons, daughters, brothers, and sisters in Saudi Arabia want to inherit his properties and bank balance. According to Islamic Sharia law, each one of them is entitled to a certain share of his inheritance. Of course, each son according to the Quran is supposed to get a double share of each daughter, and each brother has to receive double the share of his sister. While he was still alive, Sheikh Ahmed transferred ownership of his business building and 3 houses in Saudi Arabia, 1 in Eritrea and also 1 in Tehran to his 4th wife. Our internal procedures and the prevailing law stipulate that unless the 4th wife is found or legally proven dead, the building and 5 houses cannot be sold nor any of the Sheikh's estate be distributed among his kin. That is the first problem. The second problem is more complicated. The late Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed has only one joint account in our bank. It is a joint account that he created for himself and his 4th wife. Ours is an international bank and hence our bank is not subject to Islamic Sharia inheritance laws. We are bound and governed by international banking laws that govern just about any other international Western bank. So, the only person entitled to claim his estate and his bank balance is and remains his 4th wife. In the event of the death of one co-signer, the said joint account reverts to a single account owner, falling to the surviving account holder. Thus, the sole and final beneficiary of the account is his 4th wife. Well, this did not sit well with his relatives. Had the account not been a joint account at the time of his death, then they would be entitled to his estate, divisible according to the Quran. In this case, they have no claim. The bank manager paused for effect and scrutinized the women who would soon become his most important non-commercial customers. He resumed his monologue when no one asked any questions. Not surprisingly, his family members sued us and tried to force the bank to release the money held in the trust to a Sharia authority for distribution. Although the Sharia court at Jeddah ruled in favor of the relatives, still our bank rejected the decree of the Islamic court. As I have said already, our bank is an international bank and follows international banking laws. Sheikh Ahmed, regretfully, left nothing in writing to instruct our bank to distribute the money among his relatives in the event of his death. Who is the 4th wife? Asked the loving Indian woman Rani Krishna, who is following the manager very carefully. Her girlfriend Aphrodite Khan has understood absolutely nothing of his legal interpretations of the law. Her main worry is how she could escape out of the bank without being arrested again and thrown behind bars. She would rather prefer to be sent to the gallows or her grave than to return to the rape for free in the rotten Indian women's prison. 1 minute please, allow me to explain further. When the Saudi relatives of Sheikh Ahmed failed in their attempt to force our bank through the Islamic court of law to release the funds held by our bank, they submitted a complaint to the Saudi royal family. They expected that the Saudi royal family would exert pressure on the Abu Dhabi International Bank in their favor. We can only assume that the royal family seemed to know of the international laws that govern foreign banks and hence did not interfere. Now our bank wants to get hold of the 4th wife and place the matter in her hands because the legal disputes with the Sheikh's relatives are costing us a lot of legal fees. This naturally means that we have not left a stone unturned while trying to locate the 4th wife. We have used all means necessary, including placing legal notices in the newspapers in Saudi Arabia, Iran, Eritrea, and of course, India, and we have sponsored advertisements using the local media in all countries to this end. All this time, we have been unable to locate the slightest clue about her whereabouts. As if the earth is opened and swallowed her inside. Is the 4th wife an Indian? Asked the good mother Rani with a quivering voice while her heart was beating as loud as an Indian tabla. Asked the good mother Rani with a quivering voice while her heart was beating as loud as an Indian tabla. Yes, she is, and now she is sitting beside you. Yes, shouted the exceedingly excited Indian woman Rani. She pulled Aphrodite up by her hands, hugged and kissed her and said, "Congratulations, my beloved girlfriend. Hold on. Before you congratulate her, you should ask me how much money she has in our bank." The extremely happy mother let go of Aphrodite's body and looked at the bank manager. Before he said anything, the manager entered the name of Ifat Khan on his computer and then he whistled loudly and said excitingly, "Ifat Khan, you are the richest woman in India. You have 2 accounts with us. In one account, you have a total of 44 crores of Indian rupees. In case you do not know how much money in a crore in Indian currency, 140 million rupees is. This is equal in the American currency to $2 million US. Rani Krishna jumped on her feet, pulled Aphrodite towards her, and embraced her again so dearly. Then she let go of her body, shook her hand, and told her that she had a lot of money in the bank. Aphrodite's fear cautiously disappeared, and she smiled uneasily. She looks at Rani jumping up and down, shaking and holding onto her hand. Some of the joy in Rani's heart started to spill over onto Aphrodite, for she began to think that maybe she should follow Rani's lead and do the same. Aphrodite began to scream and jump up and down like Rani, with both of them dancing excitedly and turning around in circles like two schoolgirls on the school playground or inside the gym. The bank manager put his right hand on his right cheek and waited for the two Indian women to come to terms with their windfall. Is she allowed to use her money any time she wants? Yes, of course, it is her money. No one has the right to stop her from using it. All I need to see is 2 official documents verifying her identity. Rani had already anticipated that demand and prepared Aphrodite with her Indian passport and ration card. Once again, Rani hugged Aphrodite, and this time she printed another kiss on her cheek. Can she get a debit card or a bank book so that she can have access to her funds? Yes, she can. Even if she wants to withdraw now any amount of money, she can get it. By the way, sir, Ifat Khan is the most beautiful Bollywood film actress in history. Her first movie was a great hit and now she has millions of fans. I never knew she was an actress. The last time she visited our bank, she was a different girl. She wore an Islamic abaya and niqab. That is why I failed to recognize her today. Ifat looks now like a female caterpillar that has come out of her ugly cocoon and become a lovely colorful butterfly. That was all in the past, sir. She is a vastly different girl now. She is a great heroine, and she is going to act in another great movie very soon. Well, I am honored to meet a film actress from Bollywood. Anyway, you ladies have forgotten to ask me about the second bank account of Ifat Khan, which is hotly disputed in the courts in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi. The first bank account that I have revealed to you is not even known to the relatives of the late Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed. It was created by Sheikh Ahmed before he died in the name of Ifat Khan. He requested our bank transfer of 14 crores in Ifat's new account that he created for her. There is also the matter of a total deposit of 30 crores of rupees by a Mahmud Khan. The name of the evil man instantly wiped out the glow of happiness from the hearts of Rani and Aphrodite. The fear that had evaporated just minutes earlier started to seep back in. Might the manager find the last transaction suspicious? Of course, the banker is indeed wondering about the last transaction, but when no information is forthcoming, he lets it slide, as he feels it is none of his business. Now prepare yourselves for the best news yet. I am going to reveal to you how much money we are holding in trust for you in the second account. That is the account that used to be a joint account and has since reverted to a single owner account upon the death of her late Saudi husband. The bank manager paused and looked at the two Indian ladies for a while before he said, "There are 459 crores of Indian rupees in Ifat's second account." Rani Krishna's heart fluttered and missed a few beats. But the richest girl in India has simply smiled. She does not react because she does not know what a crore is. She took all her cues from Rani. If Rani is happy, then she knows she should be happy. So, she kept looking at Rani to see if she acted the same way she did when the amount of the first account was revealed, to get an idea of how she should respond to her second divine revelation, which God has used an Arab man as his angel to reveal his heavenly manna to her. This time, Rani did not hug her. She neither shook her hand nor kissed her cheek. There is no theatrics, jumping around, or dancing. Instead, Rani began to weep. Aphrodite is crushed, and tries to console her, saying, "Please do not cry, Rani. You are the only person I have in this world. I am not going to leave you because I have found out that I have a lot of money in the bank." Rani turned to Ifat and hugged her as tightly as she could. She wanted to enter into her precious heart and live there forever. Then she said to her, I am not afraid that you are going to leave me because of the huge amount of money. When I found you in jail and took you into my house, you had no money, and if you still do not have any money, I will continue to remain your best friend and give you shelter and protection. However, I am weeping for the terrible abuses you went through at the hands of those who have since died and left this wealth in your possession. It is the God in the heavens I have to acknowledge. He is the one that had punished them and took their money and worldly possessions and gave them to you. They wielded their money like deadly weapons and used it to manipulate everything and everyone around them. Now, look at what their money had done for them. One of them, his greed and lust led him to jail where he got murdered like a pig butchered in a slaughterhouse. The other one could not face his accusers and public scandal and shot himself in the head, and died alone as a stray dog. The Arab bank manager has not understood much of the conversation since the happy two girlfriends Ifat and Rani have just reverted to speaking in Hindi. He is watching them with great interest. He had never seen anyone so stirred up emotionally in his bank than the two Indian ladies sitting before him. After she finished talking to Aphrodite, Rani used her handkerchief and wiped her tears. Then she said proudly to the manager, "Sir, you have brought glad tidings to the heart of a girl who has not known happiness for many, many, many years. No woman has ever been abused more in the entire world than this poor young girl. For that reason, I am going to throw the biggest party Mumbai has ever seen, and I am inviting everyone I know in Bollywood. The first person I will be inviting is you. Please give me your card so I can call on you." "Thanks, ma'am, but I have done nothing to deserve praise or invitation. I have done my duty and nothing else." "I know that, but if your sister and niece are happy and have invited you for food in their house, would you refuse to come?" "Of course not. What makes my sister and her daughter happy makes me happy too. Here is my business card, and I am honored that you see fit to invite me to your house for the party." That day, the abused slum girl Aphrodite Khan entered the Abu Dhabi International Bank penniless, and came out with a bank balance of 503 crores of rupees, or 5,030,000,000 Indian rupees, which corresponded to over $72 million US, including equity in 5 houses and a building in Saudi Arabia, Eritrea, and Iran. If her 5 houses in Saudi Arabia, Eritrea, and Iran and her big building in Jeddah are sold, her bank balance might reach over $150 million American dollars. Even the daughter of the richest Indian businessman Mukesh Ambani does not have 10% of what Aphrodite Khan has inherited from her 2 evil captors and rapists Ahmed and Mahmood. Her mother Rehana Khan was acquitted of the false charge of marrying 3 men at the same time, and her life was snatched from death through stoning. Then the Saudi royal family compensated her with a sum of 3,800,000 Saudi riyals, which is equivalent to $1 million US, equals 7 crores rupees, or 70 million Indian rupees. Today, her abused beloved daughter is vindicated by God and received 150 times more compensation than her loving mother. Alas, Rehana Khan is now living in the United States of America with her handsome lover Jamal Khan and her adorable son Irfan Khan, not knowing her only daughter Ifat Khan has been also vindicated and compensated by the just and loving God of the heavens. She is thinking that her beloved daughter is still under captivity, rape, and abuse at the hands of the evil old Saudi man Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed. Chapter 22. Traveling Overseas. Aphrodite Khan's bulging bank balance account boggled the mind of Rani Krishna, who simply attributed it as divine mercy and heavenly retribution for the life trauma the innocent girl Ifat Khan endured from a noticeably young age. When viewed from that perspective, Rani convinced Aphrodite that she was entitled to every single rupee or rial that had been left unclaimed. With her sense of justice working overtime, she advised Aphrodite to demand monetary compensation from the estate of the late Mahmood Khan. Rani appointed a lawyer to represent her daughter's interests, and a lawsuit is lodged in the local high court against the evil kidnapper, detainer, and rapist of the innocent girl Ifat Khan. They demanded that his wife must pay huge compensation to his victim. Moreover, she wants her to pay not less than 15 crores of rupees to the Iranian heroine for acting as the leading actress in his latest hit movie. The evil man had made his victim play a heroine in his successful movie and paid her 0 rupees. When that is done, Rani, always the prudent one, took Aphrodite to Zurich City in Switzerland to have her open a new account and transfer 503 crores of rupees or $72 million from the Abu Dhabi International Bank to an international Swiss bank. Rani's concern is that the Sharia court in Jeddah City might ultimately succeed in pressuring the Arab bank or get the decision overturned. With the many wives, sons, daughters, brothers, and sisters of the late Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed hungering for a piece of his or her inheritance, this possibility is very real. She learned from Aphrodite how one of the Saudi wives had evilly treated her mother and made her work as a female slave in her huge house. Moreover, when she was brought back from Asmara, none of the family members of the old man tried to intervene and save her from him, at a time when she was merely 11 years old and pregnant with a child. Aphrodite also told Rani how her mother was sent to jail and stoned to death because the old man and his wife had reported her to the police and accused her of being a dirty Indian whore who married 3 husbands at the same time. For the first time in her life, Aphrodite Khan enjoyed true freedom. Traveling with her godmother and guardian angel, Rani Krishna, to Zurich gave her the security and the openness to see beauty in almost everything. She began to love life for the first time. They stayed at the most beautiful hotel in the European city and enjoyed every single minute of their stay there. Rani took her on a tour of the city since Aphrodite was starting to get curious about the world and other cities in Europe. She had heard many different names of European cities in the Indian movies she used to watch while she was in Iran and India. With finances no longer an issue, she asked Rani to take her to New York, Paris, New Delhi, London, and Tokyo. Her loving mother Rani explained that New York and Tokyo are not in Europe. With an understanding smile only a mother can give a child, she corrected her daughter and told her that New Delhi is the capital city of her country India. Finding it hard to deny her, she agreed to take her to London and Paris and promised in the future she would take her to visit New York in the United States of America and Tokyo in Japan. After 5 wonderful days in Zurich, Rani and Aphrodite flew to London. They went on a tour around the city of London and saw many wonderful tourist attractions. After spending 10 days in the capital of Western civilization, they flew to the city of the French Revolution, Paris. While they were in the beautiful capital of France, they went on a sightseeing tour and visited many places of interest including the Eiffel Tower. Aphrodite felt as if she was born again. She is like a bird set free from its gilded cage and allowed to fly for the first time among the clouds, trees, and colorful flowers and roses. She felt as if her broken wings had been amended, and she was allowed to fly wherever she wanted to soar. She enjoyed the food she ate, the beautiful places she visited, and the wonderful time she spent in the dance halls. Her gorgeous beauty attracted people wherever she went. She always became the center of attention whenever she stepped inside a restaurant, a public park, a dancing club, or a tourist attraction. While they are visiting London and Paris, the Indian female director Rani takes the lovely Iranian heroine Aphrodite to clothes boutiques and buys her expensive and beautiful dresses, shoes, and perfumes. Rani is preparing Aphrodite for her new movie. She is making her fit the part of a movie female star. She has already decided to produce and direct a new movie for her little Iranian heroine. The movie would mirror the tragic life story of the little Indian slum girl, Ifat Khan. She decided to call it The Female Child Bride, and the old man Rani discussed her proposal with Aphrodite and got her consent and approval before she started to proceed with the details. She told her that she would be the main character in her new movie. Since the female director, the star and main actress, and real life are on an extended holiday, within the backdrop of marvelous European cities, Rani began writing the script. She made Aphrodite retell her life story from the time she flew with her mother from Mumbai until she returned to India with the Afghani terrorist. Every day, whenever they have free time, Rani asks Aphrodite to tell her part of her sad and heartbreaking story. For Rani, it is a period of intimacy, empathy, and discovery. For Aphrodite, it is a time of reflection and therapy to blossom and put it all behind. To stay as true to real life as possible, the Bollywood director Rani has intended to go to Eritrea and visit the house where the Saudi old geezer began abusing Ifat when she was a child of 7, through the thawing of female children and rape of a minor girl. At first, the girl Aphrodite is not the least bit interested in going to that accursed house of terror. She told Ronnie that she just wanted to spend the rest of her life flying from city to city and country to country enjoying herself. Ronnie knows Aphrodite has enough money to keep her soaring in the air and indulging herself in every kind of enjoying every moment for the rest of her life. She wisely convinced her that life is not all about unmitigated enjoyment and unrestrained pleasure. As human beings, we have duties towards our fellow human beings, males and females. We should use our personal bitter experiences to prevent others from falling victim to the same tragedies. She told her about the examples of altruistic souls who changed the world with their sacrifices. She narrated to her the famous life stories and teachings of the Greek philosopher Socrates, the Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord Buddha, the Hindu god Krishna, and the modern example of the father of the Indian nation Mahatma Gandhi. Those great souls and many others had changed the world through their sacrifices. The Hindu godmother Rani also reasoned that exposing evil people and their deeds prevents those deeds from befalling other people. She reminded her of Mahmud Khan's reaction when he was confronted with his sheer evil deeds. Since he committed suicide, there would never be another young Indian girl for him to use as a sex victim. The public would be more aware of situations like this, and those who might be inclined to do the same would be delivered a strong message. Rani related her personal experience to Aphrodite. She reminded her that, if she had not stepped in and helped her when she was abandoned by all, she might have ended up as a prostitute on the streets of Mumbai or Tehran, or killed herself, or got kidnapped, gang-raped, and killed by some evil men in Mumbai or some wicked Indian cops. This last bit of logic touched Aphrodite, and she started to believe that people can help make things better for others if they only help each other. Everyone can do something to help. In her case, without her guardian and mentor, her Sikh teacher Mr. Vijay Singh, Aphrodite is dead sure that her life would have continued to be full of misery and suffering until today in the mansion of terror and abuse of Mahmud Khan. Moreover, if her Hindu godmother and female Good Samaritan Rani Krishna had not bailed her twice out of jail and kept her in her house, Aphrodite would have been taken directly from prison to the international airport and deported to Iran, where she had no one to receive her upon her arrival in the Tehran International Airport and who is going to take care of her. She would become a homeless girl. She does not know how to return to the house of terror where she got imprisoned and raped by the old Arab monster for 7 years. As the evil Indian sadist Mahmud Khan had predicted to her, she would become a prostitute in the streets of Tehran and get stoned to death by the order of a judge of the Islamic Sharia court. She never knew how to shape her life and erase the memories of abuse and suffering. Rani's simple example touched her deeply, and she had a change of heart and mind which led her to pledge to do whatever she could to expose evil and help her fellow human beings, especially the female children and other abused Muslim women. Flashbacks of her miserable family conditions in the slum of Dharavi only made her more determined to walk down a new path with her savior. She then told Rani that upon their return to India, she intended to build a big building to house all the poor children of Mumbai. She even gave the building the name, the Mahatma Gandhi Children's Shelter. Rani liked the idea, but in her heart, she knew that it would be next to impossible to accommodate all the millions of homeless and orphan children of Mumbai in one building, no matter how big it might be. Nevertheless, she praised Aphrodite and encouraged her to go ahead and continue thinking along those lines. From Paris, the two Indian girlfriends Rani and Aphrodite flew to the capital of Eritrea. When they arrived there, Rani was shocked when she saw the beauty of the African city. Before landing in Asmara, she used to think that Africa was a very backward place. Whenever she saw a documentary about an African country, she always saw people living in dirty huts and dressed up like savages. It made sense to her that many Africans still live in dirty houses made out of grass or broken discarded boxes and bushes and trees like animals. Viewing the tall buildings and the beauty of Asmara erased that perception, yet her misconception is quite a common one in the countries of the Indian subcontinent. Many Indian professors, politicians, and others think that Africans live in the bush, in grass and mud houses. These misleading notions are often reinforced by the propensity of the Western media, which publish an inordinate number of documentaries that highlight life outside the African cities. They purposely avoid showing beautiful African cities such as Nairobi in Kenya, Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, Khartoum in Sudan, Accra in Ghana, Luanda in Angola, Port Louis in Mauritius, Gaborone in Botswana, Kampala in Uganda, Zanzibar in Tanzania, Lagos in Nigeria, Freetown in Sierra Leone, Timbuktu in Mali, Abidjan in Ivory Coast or Côte d'Ivoire, Johannesburg, and Cape Town in South Africa, among other cities. Surprisingly, sometimes, those Western documentaries show beautiful tourist Arab cities such as Cairo and Alexandria in Egypt, Agadir, and Casablanca in Morocco, Tunis, and Carthage in Tunisia, Algiers and Constantine in Algeria, and Tripoli, and Benghazi in Libya, but they consider them not to be African cities even though they are in the African continent. Some of them do not count Ethiopia and South Africa as part of Africa. For them, the African people have to be backward savages and as black as coals who are the descendants of the Africans who got stolen from Africa and shipped as slaves to the New World and the two Americas and their islands. It took Rani and Aphrodite 1 week to locate the house where the small Indian slum girl, Ifat Khan, got married to a 70-year-old Arab man when she was a child of 7, imprisoned in his mansion, and was raped by him for 3 years. It was through a real estate agency that they were able to find the first Palace of Terror. When they reached the place, they found an Arab man and a 9-year-old Eritrean girl living as husband and wife in the house. When they talked to them, the Arab man claimed to be the owner of the property. He said that he inherited the home from his deceased father Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed. Further inquiry revealed that he is indeed one of the many sons of the late Saudi husband Sheikh Faiz Satan Ahmed. Without arguing with him, the wise Indian woman Rani took Aphrodite to the Asmara police and lodged a complaint of trespass against the tenants. The police informed them that only the court could issue an order for the unlawful tenants to vacate the house. Under advisement from the real estate agency that had helped them locate the house, they sold the house and let the new owners handle the issue of its illegal occupants. The real estate agent charged a 25% commission for the sale of the house, which fetched $250,000. Before leaving Eritrea, Rani made it a point to take many pictures of the house to base her movie set on. From Asmara, Rani Krishna and Aphrodite Khan flew directly to Tehran. This is another city that rattled Aphrodite. Trusting Rani to keep her safe, they landed in Tehran, where she had spent 7 years being denied her childhood and freedom. Rani felt as if she had somehow landed in the 7th century. Females as young as 5 years old and above and every woman else are covered from head to foot in black Islamic clothes that make them appear like scary ghosts. Every woman is putting on a black burqa. It has surprised Rani at the degree of freedom allowed the men as compared to the women. Men are wearing whatever they like. Some men are wearing typical Iranian-styled wear, while many more young men are clad in t-shirts and jeans, or Western-cut suits. Some sported long beards while others were clean-shaven. At the Tehran International Airport, the newly arrived Indian women Rani and Aphrodite, intending to blend in, purchased loose clothes and scarves. Once again, they were able to find the house through a real estate agency. The second Palace of Terror in Tehran is not occupied, and Ifat Khan got police permission to break open the lock of her house. When they entered, they found the house just as Ifat Khan and the Afghani terrorist guard had left it 2 years ago. Nothing is missing. Rani employed some Iranian women to clean up the house and men to clean the grounds. After staying 3 days in a hotel, Rani Krishna requested Aphrodite to move with her to the beautiful huge mansion. However, the abused girl Aphrodite Khan strongly objected, weeping and in tears that she does not spend a single day in that accursed Palace of Terror where she was imprisoned, beaten up, and raped for 7 years. Rani understood and decided not to pressure her anymore because it is a reminder of a very distressing time. Rani also told her not to sell the house, as they would need the house for the movie. Nonetheless, the Iranian heroine Aphrodite insisted on getting rid of that ghost house and suggested further instead of selling that accursed mansion of terror they should burn it down and destroy it forever, but her godmother Rani disagreed with Ifat. Before they flew back to Mumbai, the female film director Rani took hundreds of pictures of the beautiful huge house from within and without. Then through a real estate agency, the house has been sold for $5 million. After spending 2 weeks in Tehran, the two girlfriends Rani and Aphrodite flew back to India. They have spent 2 months overseas and are now returning to their motherland.